The opinions and suggestions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and are not necessarily endorsed by KRMG, Cox Media Group Incorporated, or the program sponsors. This following program is sponsored by Causeway LLC. Information in this broadcast is not intended as an investment, tax, or financial advice. Matthew Moore is not a licensed investment advisor and speaks solely from his experience and opinions. All information in this broadcast is for entertainment or educational purposes only. Matthew Moore, Causeway LLC, and Cox Media Group Tulsa are not responsible for the success or failure of any person's investment decisions or purchases. Matthew Moore, Causeway LLC, and Cox Media Group Tulsa makes no and expressly disclaims all representations, warranties, and guarantees with respect to this broadcast and its sponsors. Investing in any market is inherently risky and can be financially dangerous. Invest at your own risk. Gather knowledge in the world of cryptocurrency right now on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's news and talk. Welcome to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. Matthew is locally based right here in Tulsa. Questions, comments, concerns? Call 918-460-5764 or send us an open mic using the KRMG app. Now, here's Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore.
And welcome in. Good Sunday evening to you. My name is Russell Mills. It is a pleasure to be live and local on 102.3 KRMG on a lovely Sunday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are crypto curious, you are in the right spot. This is where we go mining for that digital gold and learn how to do it safely without falling into some of those pits out there. We're going to bring in our host. He is sitting in for Matthew J. Moore, and you probably already know him because he's been here since day one. Please welcome Eric Cooper. Hey, Eric.
Hey, thanks, Russell. I appreciate it, and I missed last week, and so I'm excited to be back here. And you know what? I'm not too conceited. I like to bring smarter folks around me, and that way that I can just, kind of do the Kool-Aid man into the background and let them talk. And so joining us today are Chris Ransdell with American BitPower and also Christian Krautter. So we're going to welcome them in here real quick. And Christian, I'll go ahead and start with you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on here again. It's always a pleasure.
And then, Chris, I'm going to make you press your mic button. That way that we can avoid this. But welcome back, Chris.
I thought they automatically did that. I'm glad I'm back here. It's been too long.
Well, we want to say just, we got a great show because we're going to talk about some stuff that you've probably been seeing, in the news here recently. We're going to start out with, the power of power in Oklahoma. Yes, pun intended.
Power is key. Power is king. Yeah, Oklahoma is in the spotlight on an international level right now because not only do we have some of the cheapest power in the world, that's electricity, people. Most people don't actually pay attention to how much they're paying per kilowatt. Some people out there, they look at their bills more detailed. Some of them just pay it and, regret it later. No. So, But Oklahoma really does have the lowest average in America and is now becoming one of the lowest averages in the world. But more importantly, we have a lot of green energy. We've got a lot of excess energy, which is a rare commodity in certain regions of America and the world. So, Christian, could you explain a little bit? You're better at this. Why power is just consumed so much by cryptocurrency?
Absolutely. So, in the Bitcoin realm, you have Bitcoin miners, and miners are operating the actual physical layer of hardware, the computers that are running the Bitcoin network, and that accumulated total of all that hash power. That's called the network hash rate. And so it's a very important process that without it, the Bitcoin network does not function.
That's awesome. And speaking of power, most people would think that if any situation, any effort had an entire country like China ban something having to do with it, it would take a little bit of a knock. But have you guys seen how resilient Bitcoin has been since the Bitcoin mining was banned back in May in China? The overall hash power of the network declined greatly, but has more than recovered since then. With many Bitcoin miners moving to America, we could easily say that China's ban on Bitcoin mining was not only good for America, it was a true test of our network. And it's probably one of the first major nation-state attempts at crippling Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's come back with a vengeance. Can you guys share a little bit about, your experience and what you're kind of seeing with this kind of surge of power to America?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it was a massive drop off that we saw, which was a boon for American miners and miners outside of China, because we saw the hash rate drop nearly in half, and in the past 3-4 months recovered to full strength. So really was a remarkable test of how much of a hit the Bitcoin network could take, and great to see that the incentive structure is working as intended. Yeah. Miners get rewards. Miners rushed all over the world to get mining up and running as fast as possible.
We've had a lot of positive response from the Oklahoma energy community. We've had different grids even construct their own Bitcoin mining tariff, which is a special rate for Bitcoin miners. It has been a very open arms atmosphere, both in the political and in the corporate side of energy in Oklahoma. But just for those of people out there who don't know what hash rate is it's kind of like horsepower when it comes to these Bitcoin mining machines called ASICs, and the cumulative horsepower. So if you have all the engines running, what is the cumulative? That's the network hash rate. So a lot of times people they hear this hash rate and they go, "What's this hash rate? Why is this so important?" It is the definitive nature of how much is being contributed to the Bitcoin network to protect Bitcoin, to mine Bitcoin, to make Bitcoin exist.
In terms of energy expended, computing power used, both?
This is more computing power, but the energy expended is going to be dependent on the machine's individual efficiency. So older machines are less efficient, newer machines are more efficient.
But generally saying, historically, we do see energy expenditure go up with hash rate rising.
Which would make sense. But this is part of the equation why it's important for Oklahomans to understand this. It takes a lot of energy to do this. Energy is cheap and plentiful in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
This is something that is going to change world economies, and we've got a head start if we take advantage of it, I think is what I'm hearing and what I've heard over the last couple months.
Absolutely. We're regularly in contact with a lot of the executives and at the utilities throughout the state, and they are all absolutely inundated with hundreds of megawatts of capacity looking to be stood up as soon as possible. They'll pay almost any price. They just want power online now.
And I can confirm that because I've walked in your office and you've been, talking with the higher ups at, AEP, before. So moving on here, we want to talk about a little bit about the crypto prices. Where do you guys see the crypto prices going? Any price predictions this cycle?
Oh, that's a dangerous question.
And how does hash rate relate to the Bitcoin price?
So, very hard to predict what the price is going to do in the short term. Of course, I feel like most of us at the table, we're all very bullish on Bitcoin's long-term outlook, especially, when we talk outside of several years. But generally speaking, hash rate and its bullish trend upwards does indicate that the market feels very, very favorably about its future. Otherwise, they wouldn't continue to invest in infrastructure towards it. Yeah. So all of it is good signs for Bitcoin's price.
We like it when we see the major companies out there, Bitmain, MicroBT, these organizations, these companies that make the machines, personally invest their own machines into mining. That's showing us that billionaire companies are having extreme confidence. And as a guy that has to look at every price and every hash rate every morning and try to make some sense of the patterns, we're living in an unprecedented plateau. Normally, when Bitcoin spikes up, we see it kind of capitulate back, and it's like a wave. At this time, imagine the wave came in, but the water level stayed at the top of the wave, which is a very unique and very positive. I believe that means that people are bringing their resources and their finances into it for a long-term play. This is no longer just let's just play with this Bitcoin. This is let's make this a part of our portfolio for the long term.
It's much less of a get in and get out quick kind of mindset that earlier cycles and earlier investors had in Bitcoin.
So not only is, the crypto industry booming in Oklahoma, but so is the movie industry. And, when we come back for the next segment, we're going to find out about what 3D movies and cryptocurrency have in common. And Chris, you get a little teaser here for me.
Well, my background's in 3D animation. I love 3D. I love how it's permeated the movies. And we actually at our farm/mine are involved heavily with the technology behind making your movies and your video games come to life.
So if you guys, once again, we have been doing this for a long time. And so if you're listening right now and you have not taken that jump, or maybe you've made a couple purchases, I do encourage you to go on and check out Matt's website. That's mattjmoore.com. That's MattJmoore.com. KRMG.com and schedule a time. Matt has been working with people on all types of situations. Russell, I think he shared the story one time. He had I think it was a widow who had this massive chunk of Bitcoin that had been given to her from her son. He had passed away, and so he had to work with them. And I am a confidentiality. I just want to go ahead and make sure that he will work with you on any situation. If you want to look at setting up a wallet, if you want to set up a hardware wallet, if you want to talk with him about even just buying crypto for the first time, mattjmoore.com, and you can check it out. Also, he's got an Amazon best-selling book.
And you can get it on that website. And by the way, if we're on episode, 27, 28, if you'd like to hear some of our old episodes, because every one of them has got information that's worthy of listening to, you can find all of our podcasts at krmg.com or on the KRMG app. Just look in the on-demand section. I'll let Eric go through all the other places you can get it, iTunes and all that kind of stuff when we get back. Quick time out. You're listening to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore on 102.3 KRMG. Welcome back to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. Although technically speaking, this week it's Cryptocurrency without Matthew J. Moore because he took a little time off, much deserved. We're all getting to that end of the year kind of thing, into the holidays, and man, we could all use a break, right? But that's okay. Eric Cooper's here to cover cover everything that needs to be covered for us, and we've got a lot of territory to cover today because there's been a lot happening. Welcome back, Eric Cooper.
Well, hey, once again, Russell, we appreciate you. And Russell, it's been a really cool experience with you because you really took on that, the normal person, the average Joe along this deal, because it was kind of hard for me to stay the average Joe and then also learn at the same time so I could do a radio show about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And so, but some other folks who are really, really smart are the guys from American BitPower.
You're so flattering.
Yes. And when I always say BitPower, I always come to slur it, so it's bit powder, but it is American BitPower.
That's a totally different kind of business.
But we want to welcome back Krautter and Chris Ransdell. So, guys, welcome back again.
Hey there.
And then, Chris, I told you a little bit. We've now got the all of our old episodes on pretty much everything. You go to krmg.com. You can go to Apple's podcast. You can go to Spotify, Google, pretty much anything. If you want to go back, once again, this is episode 28. Russell, we have the missing episode when the market super corrected, and we wanted to keep everybody calm. So maybe it's good because maybe it'll be another ride next time we have a correction. But I just want to jump back into the conversation about the power of power. And Christian, you guys, welcome back to the show. Chris, I'm going to let you go ahead and take this one.
Well, we were just discussing, if you're just tuning in, how important power is in the world of cryptocurrency mining. And for those who don't know, miners, Christian's been mining for, 6 years now?
About 6 years now, yeah.
So he started off back when it wasn't as cool as it is today, but it's a power-hungry system that protects, creates, and just gives the network the validity for cryptocurrency to exist, especially Bitcoin.
It's a lot cooler working with the state level agencies than doing it in your dad's garage.
Yes.
But 6 years go by and here you are.
Hey, Bill Gates started in his garage, so
the best stuff
don't cough at that.
Starts there. But did we want to? Now, there's a really unique dynamic to cryptocurrency mining that brought me into this field because Christian Krautter and I met on a really awesome rooftop party. And somehow got talking about 3D and 3D animation. I had actually at that moment, this is several years ago, had never even dabbled, looked into, cared about Bitcoin or crypto. And he said, hey, these machines can do 3D rendering. And I said, oh, you mean like a render farm? I've used these. Yeah. Would you have like 10 or 12 machines? He's like, no, I've got 3,000. I went, what? So there was this moment of we got to talk. And he said, can you come to LA with me? I need to meet these guys. I need to go to this event. They're going to launch something cool. And we were there in person with the founder of Render Token the day he announced. This is, 2 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
Two and a
So
half?
just a little over 2 years ago, the Jules Erbach, founder of Otoy.
Yeah.
Their project Render Token, extremely cool application of these processors. Some of the processors that mine cryptocurrency also can generate 3D animation workloads. So any animation you watch anywhere at all, it was rendered at some point on some piece of hardware. Just so happens that if you've got, these days there's around 22 million different GPU processors operating on the blockchain. If there is other forms of work that may be more profitable than mining at any given time, it's possible to toggle them over. And so that's a big part of software we actually internally develop and other blockchain projects seek to do, is how do we harness this massive amount of compute all across the world, not just for securing the blockchain, because that's a task that can be done 24/7, but how can we leverage that compute power into protein folding to help cure the coronavirus? We participated in a folding at home project earlier in the year. Or rendering or machine learning. There's lots of different applications for these processors, and one big development in the cryptocurrency space is developing currencies which seek to leverage this massive amount of compute and reward users accordingly.
The main one we're playing with right now is Render Token. We got into it years ago when it first started at 4 cents. I really wish I had saved it. I never dreamed it would go above 25 cents. It hit 25 cents per token. And I tell people it's kind of like going to an arcade and you have to buy the tokens to play the video games. Yeah. But in this case, the video games are machines that help render. And for those who don't know what rendering means when it comes to 3D and movies, special effects, video games, every frame is like a piece of art, and you're like a flip book in a movie. Most people don't understand that concept. Well, one frame can use one GPU, and it can take over an hour for that one image. But if you have 30 machines, you can do 30 times in that 1 hour. If you have 3,000, you can do quite a bit more. And Christian hadn't even realized that he had gone into the top 5 in America as far as the size, the scale of a render farm. And so using that with coupling with Render Token, with Otoy and Jules Urbach out there, it has taken off. And recently, oh my gosh, it's up to 350, and it's just going like bonkers because all the movies, all these opportunities are being rendered. Yeah, they're being animated. And
I could posit there are many reasons why Hollywood is going that direction. Cartoon characters never strike. Yeah. Do not ask for more pay. Do not worry about wearing masks or whatever because they don't have to because they're cartoons. Yes. But the like you said, the rendering business, in other words, the artist has this idea and he enters the data into the computer, but the computer has to sit there and crunch it and draw it and make it, and that takes time and computing power. And what you guys are sitting on is a massive chunk of computer power.
There's a Roger Rabbit joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to touch that one. But, recently we've also been hearing a lot about this idea of the Metaverse from Facebook and even from decentralized blockchain projects. It's this virtual world where people can essentially work and play in. It's virtual reality, right? It's a complete submersible experience in which people can, you can get submerged and live your life, or even create an alternative life. We've also seen lots of movies from the 80s and the 90s where that stuff is, kind of comes into play. You can do anything, you can be anyone. And I think that Ready Player One was a movie here recently with that one also. So can you guys briefly, before we head to break, I think we got about 2 minutes here, but can you briefly describe the concept of a metaverse and how the render tokens along with your mining rigs could help render a metaverse?
So interesting thing, with Facebook coming out with the metaverse. I mean, furthering their assimilation of all human attention and all humankind.
Should have called it Borg, maybe, but go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of a scary thing at times to see, Facebook want to take on, having full domain over the virtual realm as well. So, certainly their approach is going to be a centralized one where, they want to control the rails and they want to control whatever that experience is.
I don't believe that they'd really want to control it.
No,
that doesn't
sarcasm. Seem like it doesn't seem like the Zuckerbot we know and love at all, does it? But no, so it's definitely cryptocurrency and what it brings to a virtual world and virtual realm. Certainly the decentralized aspect, having decentralized governance, and also decentralize who owns what assets. Yeah. NFTs play a big role in ensuring you own what you say you own, and that's going to extend into a multiverse world. So as far as our ability to interact with that and just what American BitPower actually brings to that realm, probably relegated largely to the animation of just the different forms of entertainment that are presented within those realms.
Because that animation, Chris, is going to have to be, if you're going to create an avatar for yourself that you're going to now live, you don't want to look, like an Etch-a-Sketch walking around, right?
Absolutely. Anything, if it's 3D, it has to be rendered by some machine somewhere, and we've got most of them.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some more advantages between being decentralized and centralized, and we'll also talk a little bit more about our metaverse.
Yeah, and you know what's bigger than the movie industry, and by a lot?
Video game.
The gaming industry. It is kicking booty, and I'm a diehard gamer, man. I'll tell you all about my Atari 2600 when we get back. You're listening to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. All right, we got you caught up on the news and weather. It's time for more Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. We are live and local in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and yeah, this is one of the very few radio programs in this nation, or in the world for that matter, dedicated to this topic. And we bring some of the best minds to the table to discuss it and to make it understandable for all of us. Let's kick things off by introducing our host to this week, Eric Cooper. Hey, Eric.
Russell, once again, we off air are having a great conversation because we've been talking a little bit about the metaverse. You know, what's our friend here in Facebook land? He starts talking about this new metaverse where you can submerge yourself and create an alternate reality, and not just something like, because I know that you've got games out there to where you can play, you know, World of Warcraft, and you can play Call of Duty, you can play Halo and stuff like that. But this is more of this is me walking around, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's just kind of mind blowing because we've been thinking about these things since the 80s and since the 90s of having an avatar that you can walk around, and this is who you are. And we all saw the movie Avatar, or at least they like to tell us that everybody saw it. So, but I want to welcome back in Chris Ransdell and Christian Krautter from American BitPower this afternoon. So, Chris, guys, welcome back.
Thank you. And it's really an interesting, broad topic to delve into, because when you talk about a virtual world, I mean, you're talking about all the experiences that come with that, and you try to establish what kind of lord or who rules over this world.
Yeah.
And in the case of Facebook, it's Facebook, and maybe you agree with the way Facebook runs the world, maybe you don't. I certainly would take certain issues with how it operates. And so when you talk about the decentralized nature of cryptocurrency and the many ways it does interact with a metaverse, it's really exciting.
So what are the advantages of it being decentralized versus centralized?
Well, we're a part of Bitcoin world. We love decentralizing everything we can. Definitely it's going to have to be somewhat decentralized. The gaming community at large is going to be the first ones to really jump into and be the first adapters of this immersive universe. But following that is going to be everyone else, and they're not going to want to bow to any kind of authoritarian centralized entity. They're going to want to have the whole point of going into these worlds is freedom.
Yeah. A booming segment in the cryptocurrency world is this concept called a DAO. It is basically having a decentralized organization, and in such a way that anyone with a unique identifying wallet or key, they can vote on how they want this metaverse to be run. Mm-hmm. And so that's a very clear interaction that a decentralized setup can have versus a centralized one where it's Zuckerbot at the wheel.
Yeah, and and I think that one of the reasons why Matt wanted to talk about this is because, like, if we rewind and we say we've got goods such as gold and coal and pelts and everything like that, and we needed a central, a figure to dictate the prices of what we were going to do here with our life, and we've seen how that can go a little sideways when people become those in charge of it. So, I mean, in this metaverse, it's the same way. If somebody all of a sudden takes the centralized control over everything, it's obviously going to be something where people are probably not going to enjoy it.
Well, it's also the fact that the cryptocurrency is going to play a major role in this virtual reality that it's creating.
Yeah.
It's going to be with NFTs, with the digital art. It's going to have with the avatars that the people will be trading and purchasing. Christian, you got started before even cryptocurrency.
Oh, absolutely.
Mining.
And, for that matter, Vitalik of Ethereum, we both had this big beef when we were immersed in these virtual worlds that had these virtual economies where, the makers of the game would enact certain price fixing principles. They would say, oh, well, you can't trade this item. Or if an item was stolen, they would just create a duplicate of it and, return it back to the original owner, thus devaluing the item for both people. All of these kinds of calls, they're basically enacting their own ethics on the world they have created, they're all problems and things that are going to be contentious. And Facebook is ultimately going to enforce their will over whatever environment they create. And, ultimately that frustrates people because nobody agrees. So having a decentralized organization that can enforce rules and create some structure around these virtual worlds is going to be imperative moving forward.
And of course, our involvement as miners, and a lot of it has gotten involved with the render token involvement and the 3D animation rendering, and how it has been a very profitable turn of events for our equipment. Now, Christian, you literally have been dealing with this recently about what is more profitable. I get to see, as kind of the bookkeeper of the group here, I get to see the U.S. dollar impact on the bottom line here. But, render tokens taken off. How profitable is it for us right now? Because I haven't even checked for the past few days.
It is significantly more profitable than Bitcoin mining. If nothing was available render work for us right now, that would be the majority of what we do. But that's sort of the beauty of it, is it's a project-based workload. It's like, okay, here's a job. Here's a scene of a Teletubby jumping across field. Go render it. This is going to keep you busy.
That's the example I would have picked too.
Exactly. It's like, this is only going to be about 1 hour work. We got 23 hours to fill, so we've got our base load of crypto work to do. So yeah, it's not, if we could render all the time, we probably would.
So if things like the metaverse take off, do you guys plan on being a part of it in some shape or form? Or is this the kind of start of like, if you've seen the movie WALL-E, to where we all are in these chairs where we have a screen, the chair moves wherever it needs to go, and we just become these obese stationary humans stuck in a virtual world? It sounds like our virtual reality would be a mix of the movies from WALL-E and Ready Player One. What do you guys think?
Well, a lot of what we're creating here is we're creating a lot of just cloud infrastructure that can service almost any, like these applications like the Metaverse certainly can be serviced from the cloud. And what cryptocurrency does is it incentivizes extremely cheap, extremely cost-effective cloud infrastructure. Google data center not too far from here, it's a $4 billion facility. Yeah. You would be shocked to hear that in terms of GPU compute, little American BitPower actually has a comparable amount of GPU compute power to that. And it's all in the way and the priority of how you structure. The way we build a facility versus the way they build it, there's just totally different priorities at hand, and different levels of keeping the thing online 100% of the time.
You made a comment about, and this is something, because I know a lot of people want to maybe. I don't care about mining unless I really want to get involved in it. So speaking of like opportunity, we've covered the topic and what you guys do with your mining operation and how it's such a positive thing for Oklahoma. How can the average Oklahoman get involved in cryptocurrency mining? And are there several methods in which people can participate in what you guys are doing?
So the first way that, if you really are determined to be a cryptocurrency miner, it is very possible. If you have a GPU processor sitting in your computer, there's software that you can download on your computer. You can set what wallet address you want to pay out to, and you can start mining cryptocurrency today. It's actually, to do it at a smaller scale, pretty trivial. It's when you start doing it in a larger and larger scale, or when you're dealing with non-free power and you're trying to be competitive, or when you're really trying to optimize just large-scale operations, that it becomes a much more professional, organized undertaking to make a successful business out of it.
So I'll jump in for a second, because we're getting into a little bit of jargon, but the GPU is the graphical processing
unit,
as opposed to the central processing unit, which is the computer itself. In other words, if you've got a fancy video card,
right.
that then you're set up to possibly do a little bit of this Bitcoin mining.
If you have a newer video card that has been around for maybe 5-6 years, you can very likely mine some form of cryptocurrency with that. Now, Bitcoin mining specifically, there's specialized hardware that's very loud, consumes thousands and thousands of watts, as much as an average house will consume, and that's a bit harder to home game with. You're going to have some custom electrical setup, custom cooling setup. That's not really a home gamer's game. That's where you reach out to companies like ours and to say, hey, help me set up equipment, or let me work with you guys.
And not to be a shameless plug here, but there is an opportunity for those that want to know more about getting into mining on a larger scale. That is literally what American BitPower does. We partner with individuals. We help show them how there is. On a long term, it is more lucrative to mine than it is to buy You have to be patient, and you have to have the resources in advance. But Christian, would you classify this industry as the new gold rush or reinventing the energy sector itself?
Oof, it's difficult because, what we're trying to see, which is really interesting, is like I would always say that if you wanted to sell shovels, if you wanted to be the guy selling the shovels during the gold rush, you would be selling miners. But now you're seeing this interesting dynamic where the companies that are building the shovels themselves, they're using them. They're seeing how tremendous the long-term value is and how tremendous it is to be a miner and have that long-term outlook that they're wanting to deploy as many of the shovels as they can themselves. So something we never saw in a gold rush.
Yeah, it's we've been privileged to have dialogue with Bitmain, MicroBT executives. They are rapidly relocating hundreds of megawatts of their originally in China mining equipment that they built, they own, they used first, and that's showing the confidence that these companies have not only in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but in mining itself. And they're moving it where? They're moving a lot of it here to Oklahoma.
And a lot of these projects, they have 2-year timeframes to build out. So what shows you more confidence than that? Like you could quickly flip these machines for a few bucks tomorrow, or you could wait 2 years. That shows you the confidence these mining companies have.
So you guys, we've talked about you guys having conversations with GRDA and AEP, Oklahoma Natural Gas. When you guys are working directly with the energy businesses, what's been their response from the oil and the natural gas guys?
Oh, it's all over the place. I mean, some people are just so confused by what's going on, and they're repelled, and others are just going, this is so exciting. We have another way to bring in revenue. The biggest hurdle a lot of people have is trying to mitigate the risk of rushing too fast. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the reasons that we're trying to collaborate with elected officials and appointed officials in our government to make sure that it is managed and tempered so that we don't just use up all of our energy for one thing in one spot. And, next time we want to build a shopping mall, if we ever do that again, they'll have energy to spare. Yeah. But my biggest excitement was just seeing how much green energy is in our state. I had no idea we had this much wind and hydro and solar. And so I just kind of had the wrong perspective. And the more involved we've gotten with OG&E, GRDA, AP, and just seeing that there's so much on natural gas, so much on wind, so much on hydro. And it's something I think needs more attention because this is a priority that people like Elon Musk and other major cryptocurrency mining and Bitcoin experts have been saying. We've got to have more green energy being used for the mining purposes.
And I will tell you that one of the reasons folks are interested in green energy in Oklahoma is because it's not going to replace oil, not anytime soon. It's going to augment it. But when you build a wind farm, those jobs stick around. You got to have those engineers. You got to have those people on site for a long time. You got to pull oil out of the ground. When the oil's gone, the jobs are gone. So that's one of the reasons people are looking at it. Hey, we got to take a quick time out. You're listening to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. We are live on 102.3 KRMG. Oh, welcome back to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. My name is Russell Mills. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Probably should remind you that we do have Kansas City Chiefs football later tonight, so stick around for that. But we got some important business to take care of first. Been a really interesting chat about the power of power and how power generation plays such a key role and why that is good news for Oklahoma. Let's bring back our host, Eric Cooper. Welcome back, sir.
Russell, I appreciate it. And, we have talked just off and on about how really, I guess out in front Oklahoma is. And then we've also recently had an episode where we talked about we're still far behind Texas. And so we want our legislators to kind of pony up. And, we've got the ears of who we need to be talking to. But here in Oklahoma, once again, we have such great opportunity. And so I'm welcoming back Chris and Christian from American BitPower. And I'm going to throw one question at you guys just right off the top here is, in the future, will countries with the biggest mining operations become the new superpowers of the world? Or does the decentralized nature of the technology kind of neuter the idea of superpowers?
There certainly is an advantage to being a larger scale operation. Big determining factor of what will make you a successful mining operation is how cheap can you get your power. And like that is generally what is going to allow an operation to be very competitive. But even more so than that are the companies that I can really innovate, that can really find ways to get very cheap power in the right places, or find ways to have an overproduction of power. Windmill farms, for example, they could have a nameplate capacity of 1,000 megawatts, but in all reality, over at the average year, maybe they produce 200 megawatts. But they have these huge peaks where, hey, they could sell that energy for hash power. They can power up a bunch of Bitcoin miners with that power. So I think really it's going to augment the energy industry, and you're not necessarily going to see just massive purpose-built energy projects just for mining in the future. You're just going to see a much larger and stronger grid that finds very intelligent, active ways to push power where it is needed for mining to be more profitable businesses as a whole.
Yeah, Chris, we were talking a little bit about you are a mining company, and a lot of the times the Bitcoin world, we are very, very supportive on bringing more talent in. So this next question, I feel like it kind of goes in with something you've kind of shared with me, but like, why would you guys actually help somebody else become a miner for Bitcoin? And then also, what are some future objectives that you have with American BitPower? I could, see you guys easily becoming a key player, especially here locally.
Well, we are privileged to be opening up some new hosting facilities. And I'll explain a little bit why it's important, and it's we can share information with people all the time, because the bottom line is they're going to need power to plug in. Plugging in at home, it's going to cost 2 or 3 times as much as plugging in with American BitPower, because we negotiate some incredible tariffs, incredible rates, but we have to use multi-megawatts. And just to put in perspective, if you have a 5 megawatt facility, you're looking at almost $20 million worth of mining equipment. And so not one person is going to be able to jump in there, but they might say, hey, I've got 5 machines, 10 machines. I want to plug in. I want help, or I want to acquire them. So they can come to American BitPower. They can say, help guide us. We can guide them to the best prices for the equipment. We can guide them where to plug it in. And then
awesome.
We're essentially just becoming a landlord. They can rent space in our hosting facilities, plug in, have our expertise at their beck and call, and be able to learn with us. And everybody wins. We're going to help them actually be more profitable, have better pool situations. And there's a lot I don't want to get too geeky about all the layers of it, but we even have proprietary software that optimizes the performance of the machines themselves.
Obviously, I personally think that one really, really neat thing about, I guess, crypto in the space of blockchain was the Bitcoin conference that Matt and I talk about quite a bit from June of 21. Are you guys going to be coming with us for Miami 22? We talked a little bit about that before the show.
Definitely had a lot of FOMO last time. I missed out on that one. We had a couple other very fun things that we had to get done, but Christian, what do you think?
We'll have to go. No, it's always so exciting, invigorating, especially when, you work on the same thing every day, and, we're very much in the trenches, but it's exciting to poke our heads out every now and again, meet all the other leaders in the space, and pick each other's brains.
Get out of the trenches.
See what's going on.
And I promise you, so if you are wanting to get into this and you're thinking, you know what, I kind of like Bitcoin, I like the blockchain, I like the Metaverse, I would like to look like Thor walking around in the Metaverse, come with us to Miami, and it is in Miami Beach. It's in April, and I believe it's the 6th through the 9th. Got to check on that, but you can go to Matt's website, mattjmoore.com, and you can use the promo code KRMG10, so that's 10 for 10% off. And also right now, the tickets get more expensive as you get closer to the date. So
aren't they cheaper if you use Bitcoin to buy your ticket?
And yeah, you can actually get $100 discounts. As of the last time I checked, I bought my tickets way back. So, but if you need some help with that, send Matt an email. Guys, I appreciate you guys being on here with us again. Tell us a little bit social and how people can find you guys if they want to find a little bit more about your landlord program, or just to find out more about American BitPower.
AmericanBitPower.com, American BitPower on Facebook, American BitPower on Twitter, American BitPower on Instagram. And I think we have TikTok. We haven't used it in a while, but also the information will go live in December as far as the hosting facilities, because our first one opens January of 2022 with 5 megawatts.
Cool. Well, Russell,
outstanding.
I always appreciate you being on this path with us, and we're still trying to get Russell to come with us to Bitcoin 2022 or 2023 at some point.
We'll see how that works out. If I can talk the boss into assigning me, I got assigned to go to Pakistan once, so you never ever know. And I surely would love to go because that seems like the place to be. And you know what? It's about synergy. You meet those minds and the sum becomes more than the total of the parts, right? Thank you very much for joining us for Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. We'll see you right here next Sunday for more.